Thank you, Governor Romney. That raises the question, if you were President of the United States, would you need to go to Congress to get authorization to take military action against Iran's nuclear facilities?
You sit down with your attorneys and tell you what you have to do, but obviously the President of the United States has to do what's in the best interest of the United States to protect us against a potential threat. The President did that as he was planning on moving into Iraq and received the authorization of Congress.
Did he need it?
We're going to let the lawyers sort out what he needed to do and what he didn't need to do, but certainly what you want to do is to have the agreement of all the people in leadership of our government, as well as our friends around the world where those circumstances are available. But the key thing here is to make sure that we don't have to use military action against Iran. That's what you hope to be able to do, and that's why we're going to put a lot tougher sanctions on Iran, economic sanctions, credit sanctions. We're also going to have to get serious about treating Ahmadinejad like the rogue and the buffoon that he is. And it was outrageous for the United Nations to invite him to come to this country. It was outrageous for Columbia to invite him to speak at their university. This is a person denied the Holocaust, a person who has spoken about genocide, is seeking the means to carry it out, and it is unacceptable to this country to allow that individual to have the control of launching a nuclear weapon. And so we will take the action necessary to keep that from happening. And I think each person on the stage, but certainly in my case, I would make sure we would take the action necessary to keep Iran from having a nuclear weapon.
I guess I want to get to the basic constitutional view here of you gentlemen. I want to start with Congressman Hunter. The same question. I'd like to get a number of responses. This couldn't be more important. Do you believe that Congress has to authorize a strategic attack, not an attack during hot pursuit, but a strategic attack on weaponry in Iran? Do you need congressional approval as Commander-in-Chief?
Answer, Chris, it depends on one thing. First, I think the President does not need that if the target is fleeting. We live in this age of terrorists with high technology, and if you have a very narrow window to hit a target, the President's going to have to take that on his shoulders. He's going to have to do it. He has a right to do that under the Constitution as a Commander-in-Chief of the military forces. If he has time, then certainly you want to go to Congress, as we did in Iraq, and get the approval of Congress. So it's a matter of whether or not the target is fleeting. And with respect to Iran, Iran is walking down the path to build a nuclear device. They've got now about 1,000 centrifuges. They claim they've got 3,000. At some point, we may have to preempt that target. If we do, it should be done, hopefully with allies, but perhaps by the U.S. alone.
Same question down the line, gentlemen. It's so important. Congressman Paul, do you believe the President needs authorization of Congress to attack strategic targets in Iran, nuclear facilities?
Absolutely. This idea of going and talking to attorneys totally baffles me. Why don't we just open up the Constitution and read it? You're not allowed to go to war without a declaration of war. Now, as far as fleeting enemies go, yes, if there's an imminent attack on us, we've never had that happen in 220 years. The thought that the Iranians could pose an imminent attack on the United States is preposterous. There's no way. This is just war propaganda, continued war propaganda, preparing this nation to go to war and spread this war not only in Iraq but into Iran unconstitutionally. It is a road to disaster for us as a nation. It's a road to our financial disaster if we don't read the Constitution once in a while.
Around the horn, Congressman. Governor Huckabee, same question. Do you need Congress to approve such an action?
A president has to do whatever is necessary to protect the American people. If we think Iran is building nuclear capacity that could be used against us in any way, including selling some of the nuclear capacity to some other terrorist group, then yes, we have a right to do it.
Without going to Congress?
And I would do it in a heartbeat.
Without going to Congress?
Well, if it's necessary to get it done because it's actionable right now, yes. If you have the time and the luxury of going to Congress, that's always better.
And if Congress says no, what do you do? If Congress says no, what do you do, Governor?
You do what's best for the American people and you suffer the consequences, but what you don't do is what you never do, is let the American people one day get hit with a nuclear device because you had politics going on in Washington instead of the protection of the American people first.
Senator McCain.
We're dealing, of course, with hypotheticals. If the situation is that it requires immediate action to ensure the security of the United States of America, that's what you take your oath to do when you're inaugurated as President of the United States. If it's a long series of build-ups where the threat becomes greater and greater, of course you want to go to Congress. Of course you want to get approval if this is an imminent threat to the security of the United States of America. So it obviously depends on the scenario, but I would at minimum consult with the leaders of Congress, because there may become a time where you need the approval of Congress, and I believe that this is a possibility that is maybe closer to reality than we are discussing tonight.
Governor, Senator Thompson.
On this question, yes, I think John has it right. I would add that under the War Powers Act, there's always a conflict between the Congress and the President as to the exact applicability of that when an engagement lasts for a particular period of time and when they must come before Congress. I don't think anybody running for president should diminish the powers of the office before he gets there and take side in a hypothetical dispute. But I would say that in any close call, you should go to Congress, whether it's legally required or not, because you're going to need the American people. And Congress will help you if they're voting for it or they support it, or leaders, especially in the opposite party, are convinced and looking at the evidence that this is the right thing to do. That will help you with the American people. And we have learned that over the long term, in any conflict, we've got to have the strong support of the American people over a protracted period of time.